Have you ever thought about living in a country where it's possible to marry cousins, be punished for telling the truth, and people consume live fish with unique culinary habits? Welcome to Japan. Today, I'll share Japanese peculiarities that differ from the rest of the world. Firstly, the age of sexual consent is a topic that might shock many, as until recently, in Japan, the minimum age was 13, one of the lowest globally. Legally, a 13-year-old could consent to sexual activities. This rule existed in the Japanese Penal Code since 1907 and was only changed a few months ago. Some prefectures had local laws raising the age to 16 to 18, but the national age of consent was generally 13. This sparked intense debates, and finally, last year, Japan raised the minimum age to 16 after a long 11 years. The government recognized the sensitivity of the issue and how it placed young people in dangerous situations. Secondly, cousin marriage. Though lighter, it's still a topic involving relationships and marriage. In Japan, it is legal to marry a first cousin, similar to Brazil. Despite laws prohibiting marriages between blood relatives, adoptive or by affinity, marrying cousins is still allowed, though discouraged due to concerns about closer genetic ties resulting in health problems for offspring. In other parts of the world, marrying a first cousin is still prohibited by law. This practice in Japan dates back to the Meiji period in 1898, and it's so common that there's even a word for it, with tokokan. Indeed, many notable figures in Japan have chosen to marry their first cousins. For example, the 56th Prime Minister of Japan was married to his cousin. Even two subsequent prime ministers also chose spouses from among their cousins. One reason behind this practice was to allow families to maintain their wealth within the family core. Fortunately, for those who wish to legally share their lives with cousins in Japan, this practice is permitted. Thirdly, we have the issue of defamation, which presents an interesting peculiarity in Japan. There, it's possible to sue someone for defamation even if the statements are true, if they harm the person's honor or public image. This contrasts with the definition in the United States, where defamation is understood as the oral or written communication of a false statement that unjustly harms another person's reputation. In Japan, harming honor, even with true statements, is protected by law. It's important to note that many laws in Japan leave room for interpretation, but the three main criteria for defamation include: 1. The statement is shared with the general public. 2. It reveals specific, true or untrue, facts. And 3. It causes damage to the social honor or perceived value of the person. For example, disclosing, even truthfully, that a married boss is having an affair may be considered defamation in Japan. Even online statements can be deemed defamatory if they meet these criteria. There are exceptions, such as reporting facts of public interest or acting as a whistleblower to expose corporate fraud. Ultimately, Japanese law aims to protect individuals and businesses against malicious actions seeking to harm their honor or image. Two real cases in Japan exemplify the application of these laws, one involving an extramarital affair and another related to an almost rape incident at a social event. Both cases resulted in legal actions based on Japanese defamation laws, with court decisions reflecting the principles established by the criteria mentioned earlier. A magazine published an anonymous report about an incident, preserving the real name of the individual involved. Although the subject remained anonymous in the report, the court ruled in favor of him, awarding him 4 million yen for defamation damages. This case may not necessarily be illegal worldwide, but it is notable due to the emphasis on honor in Japan. Honor is considered a virtue and a just appreciation of others. Regarding food in Japan, hunting whales, dolphins, and even consuming seals and sea lions is entirely legal, although not a common practice among most Japanese people. Shark is also legally consumed and is considered a delicacy in some Chinese restaurants. Whale hunting is seen as a sign of respect in various cultures, and many Japanese believe it is a matter of respecting their dietary traditions regardless of practices in other countries. Japanese cuisine is truly diverse, including practices such as serving live fish, as in the case of ikizukuri, where the fish is prepared in front of the customer while still alive. The consumption of raw eggs, as in the traditional Japanese dish called tamago kake gohan, is common and considered delicious, contrasting with salmonella concerns in some countries. Other curious practices include themed restaurants, such as those themed around feces, where the food resembles feces and is served in many pots. Creativity in Japanese cuisine doesn't stop there, encompassing everything from whale meat consumption to unique experiences in peculiar establishments. Regarding smoking, Japan still allows the sale of cigarettes in vending machines, provided the buyer has an identification card and is of legal age. Although smoking has been banned in most indoor spaces since 2020, it is still possible to smoke in hotel rooms, cigar bars, and some small restaurants and bars that were open before April 2020. Observing these practices can provide a fascinating insight into Japanese cultural norms. Thank you for watching so far, and I invite you to share similarities and cultural differences you have noticed in your own country in the comments.